Ideally, ideally. I'm like, do I have a pen?
Pen. I did not bring a pen.
I've got a couple over here.
Oh, I did bring a pen.
Okay.
Oh, you got me? I have a Sharpie for some reason.
Okay, good evening. This is the Office of Police Ombudsman Commission meeting for April 16th. I'll begin with introductions. My name is Ladd Smith. I am Vice Chair. We have our Chair, Luke Jasmine, who is with us via Zoom, I believe. There he is. And to my right, we have a brand new commissioner. Her name is Amy McCollum.
Yep.
And we're going to learn more about her later in the agenda. Not here is Commissioner Jenny Rose. And to my left, we have our Ombudsman, Bart Logue. And to his left, we have Luvime Omana, who is our assistant or deputy ombudsperson. And then to my far right, I have Tim Zamblin, who is our legal counsel. And then to my far right is Christina Cody. She is our assistant, office assistant. I'm probably not saying that title totally correct, but I think they know. So we'll move into the agenda. Welcome to the public. We have some folks out there. I'm eager to find out what their contributions will be for tonight. And then we just welcomed new Commissioner Amy McCollum. And then we'll proceed to item number 3, agenda approval. If you can take a moment, Commissioner McCollum and Jasmine, to see if we are okay with this evening's agenda.
Yes, I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we, all those in favor of approving this agenda, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, item number 4 is approve minutes from the February meeting. They are attached to our packet. And
I'll move to approve those, the minutes, Commissioner Smith.
okay. And do I have a second? I'll second it. And then those who are, let's go ahead and vote to approve those minutes from February. Say so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, thank you. That is correct. Okay, already moving into public forum, and it looks like we have 2 folks who have signed up. I'd like to first of all welcome Anwar Peace. Thank you for being here, and ready when you are. And to refresh my memory, is it a 5 minutes speaking allotment? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Anwar Peace, a 24-year police accountability expert. At the last commission meeting, we had some discussion here about what this body could do to address the recent rash of officer-involved shootings. Well, I have some suggestions for you. SPD is ranked the 2nd deadliest police force in the nation, but it was only 10 years ago when SPD had the Department of Justice come in after the killing of Otto Zim. The DOJ did what's called a Technical Assistance Reform Initiative of SPD, which then they came back with 42 recommendations on improvements. Those 42 recommendations were, of course, slow-walked like all reforms here since. And 2 weren't even done, really, which the chief told me and the ombudsman at a May 2021 lunch meeting we had after the fallout from my false jaywalking arrest. One of those DOJ recommendations was having the ombudsman sit on the police chief's advisory committee, But on Christmas Eve on 2018, the chief kicked off the ombudsman off the committee and then banned his office from attending meetings. Another one of those recommendations from 2014 from the DOJ was for SPD to evaluate continuing the use of lateral neck restraints. Yet that evaluation only happened after the death of George Floyd. After George Floyd, most jurisdictions in the nation enacted some new form of police reform measures, not Spokane. We only got pretty words from government leaders. Spokane leaders intentionally sabotaged their own roundtable meetings, and then that broke the trust of the community leaders, with even having a OPO commissioner resign from those roundtable meetings because of the dysfunction there. In 2020, the City Council offered a 24-point police reform legislation package, but then slow-walked that package in order to wait for police reform laws from the state legislature. When those leaders lobbied against those state laws, once those laws were passed by the state legislatures, and later testified at the state legislature on rolling back police reform laws. City leaders that pushed for police reform were then faced with smear campaigns by police, like what led to an OPO investigation on the leaked body camera of a black city council member. After that, the city council as a whole asked the mayor's office to do an HR investigation on the police chief, which would have been the chief's second investigation, but the mayor refused to do that. It was then that 25 local and state organizations called for the police chief to resign on March 27, 2023, which the chief called this cancel culture and fake news. 232 days later, and 7 days after the election of a new mayor, the police chief resigned in order to avoid his second HR investigation. In conclusion, my suggestions for this commission are as follows. Ask for another Department of Justice Technical Assistance Reform Initiative review. Hold your own police reform roundtable meetings as a commission. And finally, with this latest rash of officer-involved shootings, it clearly shows a pattern. This commission body could work with those 25 local and state organizations in asking the DOJ Civil Rights Division to do a patterns and practice investigation, which that could lead to a consent decree. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Peace. We appreciate your time with us this evening. And our next speaker is Debbie Novak. Welcome, Debbie.
Hello, commissioners and ombudsman and staff. Thank you for being here tonight. The work you're doing is important work. I'm Debbie Novak. I'm an impacted family member. I've been impacted by police violence. I'm also a member of the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability. I attend the complaint meetings at the Criminal Justice Training Center, usually once a month over in Burien, and I'm working on setting up the complaint system that was revamped when House Bill 5051 passed in 2021. I'm hoping to have some more time to spend on their database so I can go over some of that with you all here at one of the next meetings, but their database is pretty sad shape right now. So we're been working on that. It's a work in progress. There's been a lot of good gain made in regards to the complaint system and gaining some kind of accountability for officers across Washington State. As you know, my son David Novak was killed. He was shot by a Spokane City police officer on January 7 of 2019. He was shot in the back as he was attempting to walk through the front door to his home. He was unarmed. He had committed no crime. The officer that shot was the last to arrive and the first and only officer to shoot. There were already 6 officers on scene. He shot David within 6 seconds of him getting into position. I would soon find out that the term for that or the description for that is quarterbacking. This was explained to me by a police expert that also was a trainer at the CJTC. When I come to speak to you, I come with high hopes of making changes that will save other families from having to go what I have had to go through and what my family has been through. Every time I hear of another death at the hands of police, it is very triggering for me and my whole family. And Bart, I don't know if I ever explained to you or ever told you, but the person that called in the false police report on my son, when we were in the courtroom, he stood up in the courtroom. This was before the judge was in there, though. And he announced to everyone that David did not assault him, that he had assaulted David. But I was never told that. My family was never told that. I want you to know that we here in Spokane right now today are in crisis, and this is in regards to deaths at the hands of police. As Mr. Peace was just speaking, we are currently ranked number 2 for the entire country. I checked this just right before coming. This is deaths at the hands of police per capita per our population. It is very unusual for a city of our size to have this many deaths. We've been holding that number 2 position throughout February and March and now into April. And a matter of fact, the numbers have gotten a little bit worse. We could be number 1. It was 9.8, I think, per million was part of the formula, and now it's gone up to 10.1. This is not the first time. Spokane was also ranked as number 2 in 2022. The person that runs this organization is a data scientist, and he is a graduate of Stanford. My ask today is that you support the many organizations that so tirelessly work to save lives and to change laws to protect lives. That would be the Washington Coalition for Police Accountability, SCAR, ACLU, PJALS, and there are many others. And not only to this council, but to anyone that is attending this meeting or watching, that you attend marches at the courthouse. You go to the city council meetings, you go to the Human Rights Commission's meetings, and the public safety meetings, and of course the ombudsman's meetings, whenever you can. Write to your senators, write to your representatives. Pick up the phone and have those conversations. It does make a difference when you show up and speak up. I want to drive this point across. We're number 2 in the entire country. This is alarming. Ask yourself, or have the conversation, what kind of a response would this be if this was happening in Seattle or in the west side of the state? I think it would be a big deal. This is unacceptable and needs to change. We deserve this change, and our loved ones deserved better. And just real quickly, because I think I'm running out of time, to end on a good note, in the legislature this session, hog tying got banned. I don't know if you all have talked about that, but that was a real plus, and the coalition was very involved in that. That was Senator Trudeau that introduced that and sponsored that, but that got banned. And as we all know, that's how Manny Ellis died. It was from hog tying. His sister, Monet Carter Mixon, testified for the first time, and she testified in person, and I was very impressed with her, and she did a fantastic job. So this is a win, and I wanted to end with some good news. More to come, hopefully. Thank you.
Ms. Novak, thank you so much for your time and your passion for what is important. Any clarifying questions for Mr. Peace or Ms. Novak before we move on? Okay.
Commissioner Smith, just
Yes.
really quick, appreciate any time both of you are able to come and speak to us and share your thoughts. And my heart goes out to the families. We do need to come up with solutions to make sure everyone's safer. And I'm glad that we have Detective Duncan here today to chat with us and yeah, I think through dialogue, through what you all are doing, advocacy, that's how we're going to get there. That's how we're going to make sure that a community is aware and that there's action behind making sure that everyone's safe. So thank you for showing up, and those were just my 2 quick cents.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Jasmine. I started a list. I have a whole list of things to talk about.
But we
Thank
hope
you.
to see you at the next meeting, both of you. Thank you so much.
Can
go
I,
ahead. Yes.
can I just thank both of the speakers for speaking? Thank you, Anwar. Thank you, Ms. Novak. And I'm very sorry for your loss. And the fact that we're getting a new chief gives me a little hope that maybe our ombudsman will get back on that advisory committee. And hopefully we can have a little bit of a say in making sure that that's something that happens. I think that seems very reasonable, and it definitely follows what the voters intended when they demanded citizen oversight. So I just thank you both for your passion and your work and for being here.
Okay.
Sir, if I may?
Yeah. Yes, please
It
go.
wasn't just me that was dismissed from that. It was also a commission member. So we also had a commission member on the Police Advisory Committee that has no longer been welcome.
Well, actually, I was on that and got kicked off as well. But yeah. Okay. So we have a guest speaker. We have the Guild President, Detective Duncan, and we have Sergeant Winters. I'd like to, first of all, thank you both for coming back. We had you scheduled last month, and due to circumstances of my own family life, you rescheduled, and I appreciate that.
You also only had 3 commissioners, which is problematic for you. We've improved a bit. We're +1. We got another one to go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy to come back again. Ombuds Logue reached out, and I think this was at Commissioner Jasmine's request that we come back. And I try to come to all of your meetings, so
You do, yeah.
you're always welcome to grab me out of the audience if you have questions as well. And I think what we were looking for was kind of like the general introduction to what the Guild does. I think we've covered that before, but I can hit on that really briefly. Our focus for the year, trends that we're seeing, challenges we're facing, legislative focuses. I believe you are going to do a presentation on the pursuits.
We're going to discuss pursuits,
yes.
and we would like to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I think that I will kind of skip over that section.
Okay.
Sergeant Winters is really well versed on that, so maybe when you get to that section, he can come back up and join in on that discussion.
Well, what I think what we're going to do is in our discussion this evening, we're going to fold in pursuits, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then so that we don't have to keep you here if you don't want to wait until that moment. I think basically we're wanting to know if you think the change in legislation is making it easier in pursuits or more difficult, and we'd love to hear more about what your thoughts are on that.
Yep. I'm Dave Duncan. I'm the president of the Guild, and I do also happen to be a detective with the Spokane Police Department, and I've worked here for a little over 10 years. Trevor Winters is one of our vice presidents, and he's a sergeant. He oversees the volunteer services unit, and 15 years you've been with SPD?
14 with SPD and 4.5 at Carlsbad, California.
We both came from other departments, so I think some of you know that I came from Kootenai County, just over the border, and Sergeant Winters came from Carlsbad, California. The rest of the Guild board makeup is I have another vice president, secretary, and a treasurer, and those 3 fellas all work patrol, and I think 2 or 3, or maybe all 3 are working right now. So it's hard to get them to meetings and things. As you know, our patrol division is grossly understaffed, so you get us a lot of the times. And we are all elected from our membership. and we represent the officers, detectives, corporals, and sergeants of the police department. And our group is about 300 to 320 people, depending on, what our staffing levels are. And then you've got your lieutenants and captains that are represented by a different bargaining group. They're the Lieutenants and Captains Association. And that's pretty typical for most police departments around the state. Some of the smaller ones, everybody will be in the same labor group, but as I kind of notice, the larger ones like us tend to get split up right about that sergeant level. And we we represent our officers, their collective bargaining rights. And collective bargaining rights come out of RCW 4156, that's the collective bargaining section of state law. And that's what allows us to kind of be a thorn sometimes in our employer's side. But, as a former member of a union, and Commissioner Rose isn't here, but I think she was the president, yeah.
Yep, yep.
So what we do. And so negotiating contracts, filing grievances if the contract is violated. Sometimes we have to file unfair labor practices. Try not to be too intrusive, but that's, the nuts and bolts of it. And then as far as internal affairs go, discipline issues, we are there just to make sure that our members' Garrity rights are respected, their Weingarten rights are respected, Loudermill rights are respected, and all of these are court cases that came out of employers not being good employers and people suing their employers, and therefore we've got Weingarten, Garrity, Loudermill. So we're there to just make sure that the process is done right. People's rights are respected. I believe there were some questions about our focus on bills on a statewide level. So all of the members of the Guild, even our Lieutenants and Captains Association, are all members of WACOPS, which is our statewide kind of lobbying group. You may have heard of WASPIC, which is the Washington Association of Police Chiefs and Sheriffs, if I'm saying that correctly. They are like the lobbying group for police chiefs and sheriffs. WACOPS, which is the Washington Council of Police and Sheriffs, they represent basically everybody else, although we do have police chiefs and sheriffs as members of WACOPS. And I'll kind of read this here, but WACOPS is the largest, oldest organization representing law enforcement professionals in Washington State, and they represent just about everybody but troopers. Troopers are in their own group, and they are committed to protecting the rights and quality of life of law enforcement officers through legislative action, legal defense, provisions of quality long-term disability insurance. We buy our long-term disability insurance through a WACOPS subsidiary. They have life insurance. So the priorities of WACOPS fall into three categories: collective bargaining rights, obviously, pension, and then officer safety. And so when we look at legislation that we're supporting or opposed to or concerned about or whatever, we look at, does it tick one of those three boxes? So this legislative session, WACOPS was looking at just over 50 bills that we were monitoring. Some we were actively involved with trying to get passed. The vast majority we were just kind of monitoring and seeing where they went. There's some bills that we testified on, signed in support or signed in against, and I'll go over a few. HB 1071 is a bill that provided funding for school resource officers in every school. HB 1380 provided funding for the recruitment, retention, and support of law enforcement officers, and it required the CJTC and WASPIC together to develop, implement, and expand programs for law enforcement professional development outreach, retention, and support for the purpose of encouraging more candidates. We have difficulty recruiting people into this job these days. And it was to help also retain current officers. HB 1446 was the bill that authorized cities and counties to impose a sales tax and use tax credited against the state sales tax and use tax for the purpose of employing additional commissioned law enforcement officers. HB 1476, that one would have added law enforcement facilities as a type of public facility district, kind of like the arena. kind of like STA, for which impact fees can be imposed. HB 2013, that was an interesting one that I didn't realize was an issue, but it was. So if I'm retired and I die on May 1st, well, my wife would get my benefits prorated for that one single day of May. HB 2013 would have changed it so that, you know, the surviving spouse would have gotten the benefit through the end for the full month. HB 2258 requires counties operating a regional 911 emergency communication system, so think SHRECs, that a portion of that excise tax go to the local governments who also operate 911 emergency communication systems. That was an interesting bill, and that one was actually brought forward by our local reps, Ormsby and Riccelli. I was not really aware of that one, and neither was WACOPS, but the president of Local 270, which is the labor union for our civilian employees here at the city, he reached out to me and told me about that because we do have an issue here where the citizens of Spokane put money through taxes towards SHRECs, and they're not SHRECs, and they're not getting the service, but yet we here in the city have our own dispatchers who do excellent work, and so it was trying to kind of claw back some of our own taxpayers' money to pay for this better quality of service that they're getting. And then the last one
I'm sorry to interrupt. What is
Yeah.
SCREPS?
SHRECs. So I'm sorry, SHRECs. I should get closer to the microphone and I should stop speaking
Was
so
that an
fast.
acronym that I'm not familiar with?
Spokane Regional Emergency Communications System. Did I get it? Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Something like that.
Systems.
So they
Okay.
they take in all the
Thank you.
911 calls
Yes.
for the county. They dispatch for
I
the
just
county.
wanted to make sure I thought that was probably what it was, but I just wanted to clarify.
I think I slurred my words a little bit too, because I'm locked.
okay.
So thank you for stopping me. And then the last one that I kind of thought might be interesting to you was HB 2311. So all these other ones that I just mentioned, none of those bills passed. Those all died. This one did pass, 2311, and it requires CJTC to convene a task force on first responder wellness in the state and to contract with certain entities to develop a 40-hour training program for first responder peer support counselors, cultural competency training for mental health and substance use disorder professionals, first responder peer support network, and a directory of mental health and substance use disorder professionals with specific competency, experience, and training. And like I said, that bill passed, and CJTC has already started work on a work group to kind of put that one in place. And like I said, there was over 50 bills that we looked at. I'll talk also about, because I know Ms. Novak is here, and she mentioned it last month, a bill that is concerning for us, and maybe not in the same reasons that you think that it would be, the independent prosecutor bill. I don't necessarily have an issue with that bill. My issue is that if we have a problem, which I think we've just articulated that we have a problem, that doesn't get to the root cause. It gets to what we think is happening. You know, if we do have cops that are out here knowingly, intentionally doing things wrong, and there is this system that is looking the other way, then, okay, the Office of the Independent Investigations, which we already have, we have the framework. And then you have that, and then you have this potential, and this bill didn't pass, but I see it coming back again next year, this Office of Independent Prosecution. So you have them to then prosecute what everybody else is missing. If you listen to kind of the bills that I was talking about, it's bringing funding in to recruit, retain, train. My issue is let's do it right on the front end. Let's raise our hiring standards. Let's raise our training standards. Let's raise I'm kind of off track here, but making sure that we've got the best policies and procedures in place. If you're really dealing with that on the front end, hopefully we don't have Spokane being the second deadliest.
Well, that requires a chief who has the courage and the ability to I love what you just said about what we need. I'm not sure we had a chief that was willing to go that mile.
Yeah, and I'm talking about their profession, not going to disagree with you, Commissioner Smith. I'm talking about their profession as a whole, not even in the city or the state, but the nation. You know, this is an extremely high liability job. Like, you pay me to carry a gun, and you give me the authority to take away people's Fourth Amendment rights. Like, that is it is a tremendous responsibility. There should be the training and the hiring requirements behind that supports that. So if these are what you expect of me, you should make sure that you're getting the right person for the job. And I'm not saying that we don't here in Spokane. I, too, am very troubled that we have as many officer-involved shootings as we do, and I struggle with that as well. Like, why? None of us want that. I came from a different agency where our response to people in crisis, or our response to really all calls, was not as good as what we have here. And the agency I came from was really well run. It was a very professional organization with excellent training. We do things even better here. Okay, then why are we still having all these officer-involved shootings? And that's what I think we really should be taking a look at.
I want to interject one more time.
Yeah.
I've got
Commissioner.
Chairperson.
I'm not looking up there, so thank you for.
Yeah, I wasn't either. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Detective Duncan, thank you for taking the time. And my apologies, the other gentleman that's with you.
Sergeant Winters.
Yeah, Trevor Winters?
Sergeant,
Yep.
yeah, so thank you, Sergeant Winters, for coming today as well. And I really appreciate you sharing what the Guild does. I know you've shared with us before, but it's good. I mean, this is recorded, and community members have told me when this goes up on YouTube, they typically watch, and it's great that they can learn just what the Guild does and some of the legislative priorities or things that have been tracked. And I love the fact that you haven't shied away from the officer-involved shootings and sharing your own personal opinion or concern. So I guess my question is, with these officer-involved shootings, what's the Guild's role typically in situations like this? I think I would like to kind of hear a little bit more as far as, especially with the number of officer-involved shootings. What is the Guild's role typically with situations like this?
I guess I'm not sure what you mean by what our role is. Like, the Guild, we don't really have a role.
No? Okay.
Not until later.
Yeah, I mean, later on, once the investigation is done, once the prosecutor's done with it, and then, any of the criminal aspect has been looked at and that's all done, then it gets kicked back to the Spokane Police Department and Internal Affairs. And then that's when we would have a part in it.
Correct.
But, yeah, no, we don't really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as a member of WACOPS, we belong to PORAC, which is a legal defense fund. So, if you get involved in a shooting, you're going to have an attorney, but that's not a Guild attorney, not a Guild person. So I really don't have any role in these. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that.
I'm going to interject again.
Please.
And I might change the theme here a little bit. I appreciate, first of all, knowing how you're advocating for your officers, and especially for the ones who are doing a commendable job, who need that support, who need Olympia assisting, and that you're working hard for your members. I think I want to go back to what our needs are, and while I've got you right here, I know in negotiations, you can sometimes reopen a contract, and I guess what I'm getting at is, how are we going to move forward with the OPO and the Guild in not going back to something that has happened in the past where lip service was given to the OPO and then they were left kind of in the dust? I think you know what I mean by that. And coming across as the OPO is a part of negotiations, and then you find out that a bunch of things were decided and done with, and not have the OPO at the table. Now, you know that's been a constant challenge that we want to fix. And what is it? How are we going to be able to move forward in negotiations so that the OPO has the ability to investigate systemically situations in the Spokane Police Department? Let's take an example of the George Floyd protests that we had here in May of 2020. And we had a chief who was not interested in having that looked at, the police response. Obviously, it was an elevated police response as the police department felt it needed to be. But there wasn't a willingness, from far as we felt, that the police department was at any point interested in having an independent investigation done as to what went well, what didn't go well. That speaks to transparency. The other thing, too, is a desire for more transparency in the reports that the OPO puts out. Right now, there's a lot of pussyfooting around, not to offend anybody, not to ruffle any feathers. So the reports have to be very worded very carefully, I think the citizens are wanting a more robust kind of look at things, and I just don't think it's happening. And another example of negotiations that need to be looked at is am I reading this correctly, that the Guild has a say in if we need to have a deputy ombudsperson down the road, that you have to approve that, or you have to have some say in who the OPO and the OPOC chooses? So those are three things that are at the forefront of my mind, and I'm wondering, can we ever get to the negotiation table, not at the next scheduled negotiations, but what can we do, the sooner the better, to address these items that really are pretty thorny, and they just sit and simmer, and it feels like it'll never, ever get done. We'll just go through another negotiation and get ignored and be given lip service. And I hate to come across that harshly, but it's tiresome. And I've got you here. I'm wondering what you think we should do to get the ball moving.
I feel like I'm standing at in the White House at the podium there, and I just got asked the 4-step question from CNN.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been resting in my gut for a long time, and I thought, God, I got you right in front of me.
I know it is, and I'm feeling all kinds of emotions as you're talking, because I have a whole litany of issues that have just simmered and been left unresolved for years and years and years. So we, the Guild, are in a similar situation on many, many other topics. I am encouraged at the new administration. There seems to be a proactive approach to dealing with some of these. There's a lot more communication and outreach. I think you've heard that from Mr. Logue, and that he's been meeting with people from the administration, which is not something that we saw previously. So I'm optimistic that we can begin to address some of these chronic issues that we have, and that you have as well, with a new administration, is my hope. I'm just going to be optimistic.
I guess I'm a little, I don't want to interrupt you, but just, I guess I'm naive when it comes to these negotiations. Can something, if the new city administration shows an interest, can we go back to the negotiating table and start to talk about these things, or do we have to wait until the contract expires?
No. Either party can request to reopen certain aspects or all parts of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not something that typically happens, but certainly. And, there's some issues that, you've highlighted over the last year here that you were not able to get resolution on, and it was because you had an administration that wasn't willing to deal with things that they could have. So perhaps you will see some change in that regard.
Yeah, fair enough to acknowledge that the city is also culpable in us not getting what the voters wanted when they voted for this in 2013.
Yeah. And, you also have to understand, I have 300 people that want to come to work every day and do a good job, and they are frustrated with the state of things. And then frustrated at the double standards that they work under, frustrated that there's not enough of them to do the job, there's not enough equipment, and then you're going to throw on top of that, like, hey, by the way, we're going to let somebody do these more robust, thorough investigations of the work you do. It's tough for guys to swallow that. Now, I knew if Mr. Logue, Ms. Amano was going to do an investigation into me, I'm not worried about that. I have great trust in them. But it's a hard thing to sell to a group of people whose morale continues to plummet and who has not gotten the support that they should. So I'm hopeful with the new police administration that we can,
But independent investigations can also make their jobs better.
I see that. I know that.
Yeah, but they're having a hard time seeing that.
Yeah, and understandably so. Yeah.
And in training these officers, and especially the newer ones, are they aware, or is that ever brought up what the voters voted for in 2013? Was robust police oversight?
I'm certain that the genesis of the OPO was not discussed with them at all. You also have to keep in mind, you have former Council President Beggs saying that we've met the charter, that we're there. So I
understand, we're on the same page.
It's
That is
hard.
frustrating.
It's hard for me to tell my members, like, hey, we're going to start discussing this again, and they're like, again? Like, how many more times is this going to be something that we discuss and we look at?
Until it's fulfilled, what the
Right.
voters wanted.
And I would say that you ask them, and they all feel that it does.
So can I respond to that?
Please.
Because while they may feel that way, we do not.
I know that.
So I just wanted to counter that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
point.
I totally respect your opinion and understand it. Like, I'm just trying to give you the perspective of, it's not the Dave Duncan Police Guild. Just because I know your ombuds very well and I have a lot of respect and trust for them, doesn't mean that I can just automatically transfer that to 300 other people. I would love to, but it's difficult.
I think kind of the point is that it doesn't matter. In a way, it's a new law. It's what the people voted for, and it needs to happen. And so it's an adjustment that needs to be made, period. The people voted for it. So any blocking of that by the guild, I don't see how it can be taken any other way. I mean, I understand officers might not like it. They might not like that they can't hog tie anymore. There are lots of things that they may not like, but the voters want transparency. The voters voted to have independent investigations. And so this, whether will they, won't they, isn't appropriate.
Okay, well, the person that wrote that law says that we've met that law.
In my experience, it's not us versus the guild either. The guild is a stakeholder in the process. The city administration is a stakeholder in the process, but there's also a police management stakeholder in the process. We should be a stakeholder in the process, but we're not. Correct. So at that final stage, we were removed and we didn't have an advocate in the room. So I think that's kind of the broken piece in the last negotiation. We were kind of led along a path, given assurances that were just, frankly, it didn't come about. Let's just leave it at that, because I don't know what happened in the room.
Yeah, and
But I do appreciate the state, your position and their position, but we are in a unique place where there is a chance to kind of look for our advocates who are in the room.
Yeah,
And
I guess-
that's why coming back to the
Yeah.
table perhaps is
Yeah.
the best way forward.
And I look back and I thought after 2020 or 2021, when we got the long out of contract settled, we thought we were there. Because, we sat down face to face with Council President Beggs, 6 different meetings specifically on this topic. He said we were there. We thought we were there. We're good. But then I came here and it was like, oh no, we very much are not there. And it became known to me that you were not consulted.
I had no, I mean, I'm brand new, so I don't
Right,
want to
right.
speak out of turn at all.
They-
I was looking at it from
Yeah.
the position that, this is something that I would have voted for had I lived in Spokane at the time. And as representatives, like, people should have a say, and the ombudsman's office has been a very clear priority, and I would hope that it would become a priority of the guild to include that communication and the,
Well, I was about to finish there.
Yeah.
So it became clear to us that the Ombudsman Commission were not consulted by the people that we negotiate contracts with. And so I'm the one that specifically asked them to bring Mr. Logue to the bargaining table this last go-around, because I didn't want this to happen again. I don't get to choose who the city brings to the negotiating table. I can ask them to bring Mr. Logue, and they can bring him, and then they can show up to a meeting and not have him. That's their choice. But we're here, and we got as far as we could have so far because I recognized that we needed to do better. You can continue to see the guild as a roadblock, and I understand people that think that. I've put a lot of work into not being the roadblock. I don't have to come to these meetings. I don't have to try to have this relationship with the ombudsman and to see their perspective, but I do because it's important because, well, you speak for the citizens on this topic, and I recognize that. And we're going to continue to move forward and improve. And I'm sorry to interrupt, Commissioner
you're
Smith,
fine.
and I know that you want things to happen today. I don't work for you. If I could get my employer and everybody all on the same page, I think things might move along a lot quicker. And so back to my point a few minutes ago of maybe when we have a new police administration, we can get to where we all need to be.
So I think what I hear you saying is, given city administration that doesn't do things secretively or not, that's not the right word, but they are not really interested in what we're interested in. But I hear you saying that as a guild president, had you had a city administration that truly was interested in having the OPO at the table, you would have gone 100% to try and accomplish these goals that you are well aware of?
Yes, and I can't say that the previous administration was not interested. I can't speak for them. I don't know. They have a lot of priorities. I have a ton of other priorities. You know, this is one of many issues that we work on in contract negotiations. So your priorities are not my priorities, but, you know, I have a lot of other very pressing issues that we need to deal with. So does this city. So I can't say that they weren't interested, and I can't say where this was on their level of priorities. And because Mr. Logue wasn't there at the end, I can't say that that was an intentional act on their part. I don't know. So I don't know that, I would not assume that there was any kind of ill intent on their part. Was he not there at the end? No. But things kind of happened fast and furious at this end of this last contract negotiation, so I would not read ill intent on the former administration's part. I couldn't say.
And just for
So I would.
information, when is next contractor negotiations?
Well, that's when the city decides, agrees to come and sit down with me. Our contract expires at the end of
2026.
At the end of 2026. So we've got a little less than 3 years left on this contract. Ideally, you would like to start negotiating a contract before it expires. The city of Spokane has a really poor track record. It's hard to get them to come to the negotiating table, and typically they won't even come to the table until the contract is like 6 months or more expired. So, you know, you can think of like labor unions. Police labor unions are very different than what you think of, or what I think what the general public thinks of. You hear of a contract expiring at December the 31st at midnight, and we're going on strike at 12:01 a.m., right? That's what you hear from, you know, auto workers and things like that. You know, like you're going on strike right when that contract expires, right? Yeah, no such thing here. And it was a wake-up call this last year when this contract was approved. Councilmember Zapone, who's a teacher, you know, I was very thankful that we were only 6 months out of contract and we were getting a contract settled. Like, that was record time for us. 6 months expired and we're getting this thing done, and he was surprised. He's like, we wouldn't stand for that. We're not going to go without a contract for 6 months. And he couldn't understand how that was like a victory for us. Of course, that was because the previous one, we were out of contract for 4.5 years, so.
Mr. Logue, do you have anything more to add? Because I want to pivot to Sergeant Winters on that legislation out of Olympia.
You know, just thanks for the transparent conversation in regards to it. At the end of the day, we are interested in having conversations happen between the police guild and the administration. We can only try to influence you with our desires to have that conversation the same way as we will try to influence them that we should have those conversations. But I have no say in either, in either side. I won't be as gentle as Detective Duncan in regards to ill intent. I think there was ill intent at the end. It's very clear because every single thing that we asked for was removed. And then when they spoke to City Council regarding it, I think this is where we can really influence things, because City Council is not involved in negotiations either. But City Council specifically asked if we agreed with what was set forth in that contract. And they were told, yes, we do. And that could not be further from the truth. So I've spoken with every single City Council member and encouraged them that if anyone ever asks that, I am very reachable and willing to answer any question and come running should we have the opportunity. Because I was shocked. I was really surprised at the final result, because we even had additional meetings prior to going into that where we had a special meeting just to assuage my concerns in regards to a couple of points where all the lawyers, and then I couldn't get a lawyer to respond to me afterwards. So it's very disheartening how it ended. But we can influence City Council by saying, please don't vote yes until you ask the right people the questions.
Yeah.
Because that would have helped.
And I think we'll see improvement in that regard, because now there's city council has the ability to designate someone to sit in on the contract negotiations, so they've got someone firsthand, where before all they would get was the, what's the secret special meeting in the back room here? Executive session. Yeah, council would get briefed in executive session. I have absolutely no idea what goes on in those, so I know that the city was briefing council on the status of the contract. Couldn't tell you what they're telling council about the contract negotiations. But going forward, they'll have, and they did have somebody there at the very end, but I don't think that you were present for those. They did have somebody from council in the final few negotiations, just sitting in as like an observer. So hopefully that helps that.
But no one will advocate for us like we will ourselves. So I think it's incumbent upon us to always remember that and take a chance to publicly acknowledge where we would like to be in the future. But it's also worth saying that even though I don't like some of the reporting things where the Guild gets to review our reports before they're published, I don't like that, and they know I don't like that. But it has led to this better relationship where we understand each other a little bit more, and we understand the things that we're trying to accomplish. So some good has come, a lot of good has come from the contract that was in place when I first arrived here. So,
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And Sergeant Winters, thank you for your patience. And I am no expert on the legislation that occurred in Olympia regarding vehicle pursuit. Perhaps you can help us out with what got changed and what is your perspective on that?
Sure.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
So, I think, before you start, one of the main things that I've been hearing from community is that we didn't do pursuits prior to a few years ago when we had a huge sweep of legislation passed. So I think the main concern from community members is, hey, are they going to still not do pursuits even though rules may have changed, or is this going to open up an avenue for pursuits to start in Spokane? So when you're doing kind of your presentation, if you don't mind answering that during it, that'd be appreciated.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. So kind of a brief history. 2021 is when some of the state laws changed. And essentially what that did is it took the existing police pursuit law, what gave law enforcement officers the authority to pursue an individual, and put a bunch of restrictions onto it. Mainly, it went from you had to just commit a crime to now it listed off a specific list of crimes. And those crimes were several of them, but for lack of better words, they're called BARC felonies. So it's your violent crimes against persons, your assaults, your burglaries, rapes, kidnappings, those kind of things. With that, it then said that in order to engage in a pursuit, you had to have probable cause that a person had committed a crime. So probable cause is essentially the authority that we have. That's the threshold that we have to arrest somebody. Well, in order to establish probable cause, I have to do an investigation. So essentially that bill kind of killed any officer's ability to pursue, because how do I establish probable cause without actually being able to talk to somebody to do an investigation? So if I show up on a scene where maybe somebody said a shooting had occurred and I see a car drive away, I have a reasonable suspicion that that person fleeing had committed a crime, but I don't have probable cause that they did just by them merely fleeing. So we can't really engage in a pursuit in that. The other thing that it added is it made an officer have to get supervisor approval prior to engaging in a pursuit. So that adds a whole nother layer of complexity, right? So now I have to establish that I have probable cause, so I have to be able to arrest the person before I can pursue them. I have to get supervisor permission, have to do all of these things, and it's a split-second decision, right? I think the legislators kind of realized there was some error in their ways on that, and in 2022, they changed the law a little bit. They basically, they eliminated the requirement of supervisor approval prior to engaging in a pursuit. They put that back to the law prior to 2020, which was you just have to have supervisor, the supervisor has to be aware and monitoring the pursuit, and I'll get more into that here in a little bit. And they went from probable cause back to reasonable suspicion. So it gives us, reasonable suspicion is kind of the threshold that we use for what's called a Terry stop. So our reason to lawfully stop and detain somebody while we investigate a crime. So we don't have enough to maybe arrest the person, but I have enough to say, hey, that person might have done something bad, so we're gonna stop them so we can investigate, right? But it still had this long list of very specific crimes that you could pursue for. Again, just the very violent ones. One of the notable things that has impacted our city that was left out of that is auto theft. So if somebody steals your car and a police officer goes behind that car, the law says I cannot pursue that vehicle. As a vehicle owner, I might be a little upset. How come the police didn't do something to help me get my property back? Well, because the law says that I can't. So that's kind of a brief history of what has changed over the last couple of years. So essentially what what Initiative 2113 did is it enacted the law back to what it was prior to 2020. So essentially that law reads, and I'm going to paraphrase, that a police officer may not engage in a pursuit unless a person has violated the law. So it opens things back up to anything. I started my career down in Southern California. The police pursuit law down there was very similar to this. My agency in Carlsbad, we could pursue, if you had a brake light out and you ran from the police, we could pursue for that. We never did, only because we know that the risk is not worth the reward on that, right? But it's a very open pursuit policy, so we could pursue for different things. When I lateraled here to Spokane in 2010, even then, the city of Spokane and the Spokane Police Department had restricted what officers could pursue for. So in our policy at the time, we could pursue for suspicion of DUI, we could pursue for stolen vehicle, we could pursue for reckless driving, we could pursue for any of the BARC felonies, for the DV crimes, those kind of things. But if it was just guy failed the signal and then fled from me, I couldn't pursue that then. So Spokane has always had a more restricted pursuit policy than state law. Now that the state law has kind of reverted back to that open, very broad policy, I don't see our department just going willy-nilly and opening up the floodgates of we can pursue for anything. That will be some discussion between the administration, the chiefs. Hopefully the guild will have some say in that, but that's up to them. As far as what would we like to see? What do the citizens need? What is a responsible approach for them? As far as with the law, yeah, it says that they can pursue for anything. There still is a lot of checks and balances in there. So one of the things that an officer has to weigh is kind of that risk reward. What is the risk of not apprehending this person right now? Do I know who they are? Am I able to go and apprehend them at a different time, maybe safer means? We're basically putting other members of the public at risk by pursuing, so our reason for needing to pursue has to kind of balance with that. As a patrol supervisor, if I had an officer that engaged in a pursuit, the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to call our dispatch center so I have direct communication with them, not over the radio. I'm going to let them know that I'm monitoring the pursuit. The very first things that I want to hear from that officer is I need to know why they're pursuing, how many people are in the car, what are the road conditions, what are the speeds, because those are all the factors that I am now taking into account to say, yes, this meets a threshold of criteria that we should let this pursuit go, or no, we're going to terminate it. And I can tell you, my time as a sergeant, I have terminated more pursuits than I have ever let go on, because the officer, again, they want to catch the bad guy, they want to stop the person from fleeing. It's now my responsibility as a supervisor to kind of have those checks and balances, making sure that they're working within the the liability and the realm that they should be in.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With the current policy, do officers still have to request permission, or do they just advise supervisors?
No, they don't have to request permission anymore. It just has to be notified. And basically notifying is getting on the radio and saying, I'm in pursuit. And again, my response is going to be, my call sign's L210. I will say, L210, I'm monitoring. What's the reason for the pursuit? The very first words out of my mouth. That's exactly what we want to hear. If they can't answer that, the very next words coming out are terminate. Because I would rather they be protected. I would rather that officer does the right thing. They might be fully justified and righteous in this pursuit, but if they're not giving me the information that I need, how can I allow that to continue, right? So there is that oversight. And it's not just me on the streets. There's 3 or 4 other supervisors, to include lieutenants, and we are all listening to this. And there's not a hierarchy of, oh, well, this is Sergeant Winter's officer, he's the one in charge. Well, if I miss something and I have a different sergeant there, he's going to step in and say that. So there's multiple layers of that kind of oversight and protection there. I mean, with this law change, is it going to change anything right now? No, because the law doesn't go into effect until June. And once it goes into effect at June, unless our department changes our policy, which our policy is 19 pages long, so keep in mind that an officer has to know every in and out of those 19 pages at a split-second notice while he makes a decision. Until that policy changes, then we're still kind of in the same boat where, no, we can't pursue. That will be a discussion between the administration of, well, where do we want to ease things? And they may or may not, I don't know. I have my opinions, but they're just mine, so. Does that answer your questions? Did I cover everything? Is there something else that you want more specific?
I found that really informational, and I appreciate hearing what has changed, and I feel like I know more. Anyone else want to weigh in or ask anything?
No, I think this is great. Conversations like this are great, and with modern technology, we get to put this on social media, YouTube, and more awareness goes out. And if we can have more awareness about what the facts are, then we really help with misinformation. So thank you for taking the time and coming and sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
You've given us a lot of your time. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I will add something about the pursuits, because there's kind of an interesting that has happened in society is the cat is kind of out of the bag. Even though we're really not doing anything different as far as pursuing people, there is this general perception, at least there was for a couple of years, that we couldn't pursue people. And now we see people take off and run from us in situations, I mean, a magnitude more than we ever did before. I was on the freeway with my family 2 days ago, and a motorcycle flew by me at an ungodly speed. And I look into my rearview mirror, and I briefly see red and blue lights from a trooper, and then those lights went away, and my wife was scared, and what's going on? And she's like, why isn't he chasing him? And I'm like, well, that's just not safe to chase a motorcycle on a busy freeway. The guy on the motorcycle is likely doing that because he thinks he can get away with it because of the pursuit laws. But 10 years ago, I wouldn't have chased that motorcycle no matter what the policy or the laws were, because it's just not safe. Our general public didn't know that we had kind of self-imposed these restrictions on ourselves for safety reasons and liability reasons. But, now we've kind of opened Pandora's box, and I don't know how we close that one back up again. But
I appreciate that example. We have, I think, a quick question from Ms. Novak.
I don't know necessarily that it answers a question. I'm sorry, it's hard to sit in my chair sometimes.
we'll let you have the microphone because I know Mr. Jasmine wants this recorded.
It's hard to sit in the chair when I hear this conversation going on. I just want us all to be cognizant or remember why we're even having this conversation to begin with. Because the 15 months prior to the curtailment of pursuits in the state of Washington, I believe it was 11 deaths that were caused due to pursuits. And then the 15 months after the cutback on the pursuits, there was 1 death. And the numbers on that, I believe it's either in the 70% or 80% of the people that normally get severely hurt or die in a pursuit are not the person driving the car. They're bystanders, they're passengers, police officers. You know, so I just feel like I need to add that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Good context, yeah.
I echo her sentiments.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're extremely dangerous, and they're dangerous for our officers, they're dangerous for the public, and so, I mean, we are comfortable with our policy, and it requires a lot of skill and training to do a pursuit and to do it well. I think back to when I was a very, very young deputy and getting sent to an in-progress DV, and it is emblazoned in my memory of me on Diagonal Road in Kootenai County, looking down at my speedometer, going, "Oh my!" I could not believe how fast I was going. It takes some experience and some time to really be aware and not let that adrenaline get to you. And so, yeah, the pursuits are dangerous. They're dangerous for everybody.
Mr. Peace?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something real quick. I'm kind of curious, so way back when I started my activism, I did ride-alongs. And one of the things that I noticed while doing a ride-along was that there was 2 officers in a car. And so as they were driving, especially if they were driving faster than normal, the other person in the shotgun position would call out, "You're clear," whatnot. How does chasing somebody change when there's just one person in the car and you don't have other eyes to be able to say, you know, "You're clear on this side," or whatnot? How do you guys address that?
Yeah, and the way we train for pursuits is that you want to have another officer right behind you, and that officer would be the one that would be working the radio, calling out the pursuit, so that primary officer chasing, you're focused just on the person that you're following, the road conditions. I thought you were going a completely different direction with the 2-officer thing. My dad worked for the LAPD, and they, large agencies, and most agencies in larger cities like that, police officers work patrol 2 officers in a car. He came up soon after I got hired at Kootenai and went on a ride-along with me, and here we are driving around the rural area of Kootenai County, just me by myself. He thought that was insane, that I was out there by myself, just me, in the middle of the woods, nowhere. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. And, you know, after I got into a few things, I realized, like, it sure would be nice to have somebody in that passenger seat. It would be I would love it if we had the staffing available to, you know, have 2 officers in a car, because it would make pursuits safer. It would make everything that we do safer for us, safer for our citizens. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to this. Okay, well, thank you.
Can I just say thank you for the information, and as a brand new commissioner, I am hoping at some point to do a ride-along with somebody.
Yeah.
So I might as well talk to the source right here. Yeah, and I appreciate all the information. I do have some questions on some of the policy stuff, but I think I'll wait until I'm a little more knowledgeable.
Yeah, I think we've taken up everybody's
yeah.
entire meeting tonight, so.
Thank
but
you
yeah,
so
you're
much for
welcome.
the
Thank you.
information.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
can I add something to this discussion?
Sure.
So I think that Sergeant Winters did a really good job of summarizing the legal aspect.
Yes.
But one part of Commissioner Jasmine's question was the policy and how it's changed from before 2020 to now, and is it more permissive? And I think that came about because of the change that happened, I think it's called I-2113. And so that is yet to be, as Sergeant Winter said, that will change in June. But as far as the changes to policy, so I did a side-by-side, line-by-line analysis of the SPD policy from 2019, and then the current one that we have, which is 2023. And I think there are a lot of changes that have happened over the last 4 years, but to our discussion, I think the thing that answers that question from pre-2020 to now is, when can an officer pursue? And so I just wanted to read off what the policy said then and what the current one says. So in 2019, officers can only can pursue only when necessity for immediate apprehension outweighs the danger created by the pursuit itself. And then it says officers may initiate pursuits for crime of violence as defined in RCW 9.41.010. Those are Class A felonies like murder, aggravated kidnapping, rape. So those are all included in, mostly included in what the legislature required in 2021. Warrant for non-DOC of the same types of crimes, suspected DUI or reckless driving of an egregious manner prior to the officer encountering the suspect vehicle. So I think the important thing there is that balancing that Sergeant Winters mentioned, but the difference from then to now is 2019's policy mentions a necessity for immediate apprehension. The current policy that we have from SPD was dated, I believe, February of 2023. And that one says that the safety risks of failing to apprehend or identify the person are considered to be greater than the safety risks associated with vehicular pursuit. So that's similar in the balancing, but the change is, and the person being pursued poses a serious risk of harm to others. So that is a legislative change that SPD has incorporated into the policy. And I just wanted to point out that SPD has incorporated all of the changes that the legislature has made in their vehicular pursuit policy.
Yep, I just came back up in case there's any questions on that, but I think you summed it up perfectly, yeah.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, we are on to the OPO reports from February and March, and a critical incident included, and Mr. Logue.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, and again, thank you to the Police Guild for coming. I think back even 3 years, we would not have been able to have a conversation such as this. So really, really good. And then I'm stuck on, how did you go on ride-alongs when there were 2 officers in the car? Did they put you back in the cage? Yeah, I'm not doing that. So. Sorry, that's probably not necessary, but yeah, February and March. It turns out that March was a month that was busier on almost all fronts than January and February combined, just for stats purposes. So I'll just quickly go over the totals. 367 contacts for those 2 months. We did 27 OPO interviews, 7 OPO-generated complaints, 14 referrals. Previous to that, we had only had 6 complaints for the year and 9 referrals. The cases certified were 9, and we declined to certify 1 case, and that case was something that we uncovered during a review for our annual report. It involved a 270 employee, and there were some questions as to whether or not the OPO could be involved in that case. Since that time, so that was sent up without coming to our office for review, so as we found it, we declined to certify it. We believe that the Police Guild contract, which is the only contract which talks about what we're allowed to do in regards to internal affairs cases, has to do with our review of the internal affairs investigators, not necessarily the person who is being investigated. We can ask that person questions, but our objective inside of interviews is a timely, thorough, and objective investigation by the investigator. So we believe that and the language also says that we are invited to all investigations. So we don't believe that we're not to be invited to 270 or MMPA investigations. We have tossed that up to the city administrator. But since that time, we have been included in investigations moving forward. So I think that one is resolving, but it's not yet resolved. We did recently have a case involving an MMP employee, and the president of that association actually came to our office and ahead of time and went through how's it going to work and all of that. So I also encourage that person that if they had any issue with our involvement, to please make it known to the city, because the only way that we get these things resolved is if the city takes some action and works out the questions. So that's what happened there. We sat inside of 16 IA interviews. We reviewed 38 special cases. Louis May will talk a little bit about the review board process at the end. In the last 2 months, we had 85 meetings with SPD. We also had 16 oversight meetings with oversight professionals, as well as 18 meetings in the community. So a very, very robust couple of months. In addition to all of that, we've talked with Council President Wilkerson regarding commissioner reappointments. Both of those reappointments are done with Commissioner Jasmine and Commissioner Rose, as well as, reappointments. And then we now have one of the two appointments, so our commission is growing. We're happy about that. And then we also had many conversations regarding the OPO budget. We worked, again, we're right at the end, finishing up our report on New Orleans. We did a peer review of the Office of the Independent Police Monitor in New Orleans. Louis May and I, we were able to obtain 2 scholarships, so we attended a week-long executive leadership coaching boot camp. So we did that. We became certified coaches. I've applied those techniques a number of times, once even with the police chief. So I think that was a helpful skill to bring. It's different than mentoring. It's different than a supervisor kind of employee thing. It's a unique skill, and I really liked it. So we're working with that. As mentioned earlier by the Detective Duncan, we've had numerous meetings with the city administration in the last couple of months on a wide variety of topics, actually. I was requested to sit on the police chief and the fire chief selection panels. Commissioner Jasmine is also sitting on those panels. It's now been reduced by 50% with the hiring of our new fire chief. But the majority of that work, I believe, is scheduled for June. So I know that right now that there are a few community forums scheduled. So if you're interested in telling the administration what you'd like to see in your next police chief, look for those community forums. We'll post those on our Facebook page too. Christina, could you do that? Yes. For community events, Leadership Lights the Way Gala, we also attended the Camp Sticks event. I met with former Commissioner Navarrete, but now Councilmember Navarrete, and she asked us to do a small research project in regards to pros and cons of take-home vehicles, so we did that. Maggie Yates has also asked us to do a small research project in regards to best practices in dispatch, how officers are dispatched, and the numbers of officers that were dispatched. So we completed that as well. We attended the mayor's press conference at Riverfront Park, and we're working on marketing materials still. There was a new IA investigator. His name is Sergeant Matt Rose that came on board, I think it was in February. In the last couple of months, he's working out really, really well. He's actually started to do something that we liked. He started providing us, in advance of interviews, specific portions of body-worn camera footage to watch so that we would know what we're talking about before we walked into an interview blind. That's a best practice, and all of IA started to do that. That's really, really, really helpful. We had a lot of NACOL work, a lot of Criminal Justice Training Commission work. Also, the United States Ombudsman Association asked us to do some work. Did a little bit of stuff with the oversight office in Alexandria, Virginia. And then we also had a chance to attend the Spokane Police Awards ceremony in March. I gave a presentation to the Public Safety and Health Committee of the City Council in March, and I just wanted to go over a couple of those points since I didn't have a chance to give it to the commission. And it kind of goes in line with some of the things that have been mentioned tonight. But we also had a chance to meet with Mayor Brown. And I think a lot of times, especially when we talk to the Police Guild, it seems confrontational because we focus on what we can't do. And I think sometimes when we do that, we forget to focus on what we can do. And that was the big focus of our conversation with Mayor Brown. I get what we can't do, but what can we do? So we've had a lot of shootings this year so far, more than normal, at least in a compressed time. And I think what's important for me is that whenever we talk about officer-involved shootings and numbers or anything about them, we have to approach them in a way where we believe that we can have an impact on them, that they're not just going to occur regardless of what we do. We have to believe that we can influence them, that we can bring them down somehow. I would point you to Seattle to show where a robust consent decree has really impacted their numbers of force and deadly force. So some things, sometimes changing things can make real differences. And we have to believe that we can do it. And if we don't talk about it in that way, then we're doing it a disservice. So in Tucson, I met with the guy that I have a personal and professional relationship with. He's the deputy mayor for public safety for the city of Los Angeles. And they are going as well through a hiring process for their police chief. So we spent a little bit of time talking about that process. But then, because I had him, and I had to talk with him about officer-involved shootings. We had one officer-involved shooting on January 31st. We had two officer-involved shootings on February 12th. And then since then, we've now had another one on March 31st. And the interesting thing is, we find that we're very limited with what we can actually say about those officer-involved shootings that have just occurred. And a lot of that is impacted by state law currently. We use a SIR team, so an outside agency comes and investigates anything that the Spokane Police Department is involved in. I believe there's only two members of that. I could be wrong. I've only seen the Washington State Patrol and Spokane County investigate us. The Spokane PD is also a member of that, but they would only investigate critical incidents that occur with the county and Washington State Patrol. So the police chief gets one shot at a press release, and then after that, all subsequent information comes from that SIR team investigating agency. So there's a lot of discussion about what we cannot say. And frankly, some of it's fair, and there's a lot of discussion about what the police department doesn't even know because they don't have access to those investigative files. So when I was talking with the deputy mayor of Los Angeles, he stated it's fair to say that for that same 2-week period from January 31st to February 12th, that Spokane experienced more officer-involved shootings than the city of Los Angeles. And I did the same pause when I was briefing it. Because taken at face value, that's kind of a shocking thing to hear. But it only tells you part of that story. And officer-involved shootings are all individual events, and they're all dynamic. And there's a lot of variables that go into them. But Los Angeles, on an annual basis, averages 30 to 40 officer-involved shootings a year. And we average 3 to 4. So you can take something and skew a statistic. Now, I want to pause and go off my script for a second because we talked about mapping police violence, which is where the second most dangerous city in the United States comes from. I think that's the stats that they're using. And when this first became popular a couple of years ago, both Chief Meidel and the sheriff at the time put out videos, and you can watch them, they're available online, where they talked about math. And I don't ever want our commission or my office to talk about an officer-involved shooting about math. Because I don't care where we are on that list, we have to believe that we can do better. I don't care what math is being used, the same math is being used for everybody on that list. So regardless, we have to believe that we can bring it down. And if we make the problem about the math and not about the tactics or what we can do regarding officer-involved shootings, we're focused on the wrong thing. And that's what I want our office to be about. So that I will always say things like this. I will make real recommendations based on research to the police department that I hope that they will take, and that I hope that we can influence community safety because of them. I was curious to ask this question, and I didn't while you were talking, Detective Duncan and Sergeant Winters, but do you, and maybe the answer is a quick no, do you have the ability to make recommendations for improvement to police training and procedures? So for instance, one of the things that we go to, and Louie May will talk about it in just a second, we go to review boards on critical incidents. We go to review boards in regards to use of force incidents, pursuits, and collisions, where we have a group of people, mostly police officers, experts in various aspects of whatever we're talking about, looking at it, hopefully in a critical way. And these review boards occur after any sort of disciplinary thing can happen. Very, very similar to our reports, right? We write reports after everything's all said and done and no discipline can happen based on anything that we say. However, it's the restrictions in our reports that I take issue with, because I do have expertise in policing and we do have some good things that we can say, and I'm more willing to say it sometimes than some police officers. If there's something that we can do better, let's say that and talk about the things that we can do better. My opinion is what's restricted in those reports, and those are the things that I care about the most. It's very difficult to say what we can do better if I can't say that we're doing anything right or if we're doing anything wrong. So I have to look for cases where there's people on record that I can quote in order to kind of drive towards a solution. And it adds an obstacle. It's not something that we can't overdo, but the end of the day is we want to make it better for officers to do policing in our community, and we want to make it better for our community members to have officers out in our community doing policing. We always expect our police to operate in a way that's safe for them. But I also want them to operate in a way that's safe for the community. And that's why this discussion on pursuits is very, very interesting. Because it's not about, we're concerned about officers chasing people who violate law, and especially significant law that harm other people. We're concerned about the potential catastrophe that happens to that pedestrian or some innocent driver that might get in the way of that pursuit. That's what we mostly care about. That's why we don't pursue people for a blinker. Why would we take a chance on potentially harming a community member for a blinker? But if somebody kills 2 or 3 people, it raises the stakes if you know that they're right there. But yeah, our recommendations are to help officers as well. Now, we do face that barrier where everyone knows I was in the Marine Corps for a long time, and Marines feared change, any kind of change. And police are very similar to that. If it's working in a certain way, it's difficult to understand that there might be a different way to do things. But I have heard from the Police Guild, both tonight and in our other conversations, that they recognize that we should have, and they are blessed with, a crazy amount of responsibility. And because they are given that responsibility, are you also as invested in looking at the things that might be done better? And do you have that same opportunity to make those recommendations? I really don't know that answer, so I wanted to ask you.
I make a lot of recommendations. And I think we make a lot of recommendations, and we see a lot of things that could be improved. We're not the ones running the organization. And I think maybe that's why you have heard me repeatedly and publicly talk about how much I appreciate your recommendations. It's easy to ignore me. It's a little bit more difficult for them to ignore you and your recommendations.
That's interesting, because I would have expected that to be balanced the other way. So more to follow on that, how we can be more effective in our recommendations would be a conversation that I would be interested in having. So one of the things I asked the police chief, and we talked a long time in regards to these officer-involved shootings, and instead of focusing on what we can't do, and we can't talk about those shootings that just occurred, we can talk about the police responding to other things that don't turn into a critical incident that are also very, very dangerous. We can talk about those positive responses that are going right, and we can highlight the things that the police are doing, not just the police doing, but also the community members, how they are responding to the police response as well, because that is the part of an interaction with law enforcement that the police cannot control, is that other person's response. And it's very, very valid. But we can highlight the things that actually work out okay to see what we can learn from them. Because the idea is, if we can learn from the things that are going right, maybe we can replicate that. Because things go right a lot. And I think that's important to note. And I don't even know the number, 50 some odd thousand police responses a year. Is that the correct number? 50 to 100. We average 4 critical incidents. Now that's 4 too many as far as Bart Logue's concerned. But things go better a lot more times. So what are we doing in those other times? maybe there's nothing we can do. But if we don't talk about it, we're not going to go there. I just don't want to accept the fact that they're happening. We have to believe that we can impact that. So with that, Louis May's going to talk a little bit about a review board that she just went to just highlight, and it's not necessarily that folks are saying things wrong, but sometimes we can lose focus on, are we actually trying to make it better, or are we just checking things off? So Louis May.
Yeah, so I attend our Use of Force Review Board and Collision Pursuit Review Board on behalf of our office. And then usually I'll brief Bart afterwards on kind of like themes that I noticed in the cases. And so he thought it was important to share with you all. So one of the themes that I noticed in this review board was de-escalation. Now, I understand that de-escalation isn't possible in every scenario, that scenarios can rapidly evolve and there's no time. So it's if feasible, I recognize that, and that it's subjective too. There's no, you have to do all these things, it can change. So with that said, I still had some concerns about how de-escalation was being used. And I know that when the department implemented the de-escalation policy, there was a lot of kind of training up front. But currently, training is incorporated into other types of training, like reality-based scenarios. So there isn't like a dedicated de-escalation portion the way there is like defensive tactics or firearms. And so I think what we're working towards is some kind of recommendation, because there are departments who have a specific block that work on de-escalation training, and studies on those departments who have implemented this type of training have shown a reduction in force by, I think one that I saw was like 20-some%. So that's a good amount to reduce force. But I think just kind of like what is de-escalation was kind of the essence of the issue. And it was like, it's written in policy, but how that's to be interpreted is not very clear. And so the discussion today was, well, can pointing a firearm be considered de-escalation? Can using lethal force be considered de-escalation? And I have the perspective of a community member in this case, and those to me are escalation tactics, because using force, because we're looking at this case because it's an intentional pointing of a firearm, that is a type of force. Using force is not a way to reduce force. And I understand the argument of, you know, in the grand scheme of things, of the scale of the force, then this is still less force than what could happen. So I recognize that as well. But that, just from my perspective, that's not what I think of when I think of de-escalation. I did consult some policies, and I think there are a lot of long ones, and I know I read to you a lot already, so I'll just pick a short one. This one is Lexipol's policy on de-escalation. And it says that when circumstances reasonably permit, officers should use nonviolent strategies and techniques to decrease the intensity of a situation, improve decision-making, improve communication, reduce the need for force, and increase voluntary compliance. So when I read that, I don't think that that force is a way to de-escalate, but I understand that that's not the perspective that all people have. So what I would like to see is the department put more objective training and guidelines out there, so it's less open to interpretation of what that could be.
So to sum up, you know, the The OPO, we're committed to looking for policies, procedures, and techniques that other cities and departments are using with effective results. And I'm never going to settle for anyone that looks at me and says, we used force and we're calling it de-escalation. No, you used force. Let's just call it what it is. It's what it is. De-escalation is something different. Let's not confuse the two or try to morph them together. They're separate and distinct things. And what we're not saying is force was inappropriate, force was wrong. That's not our call to make. That's on the chief of police. They have to make that decision. But when it comes to the review board process, I've been an advocate for having a much more robust review board process for a long time. That's the time to be critical. All disciplinary decisions have already been made. Let's be critical, call things what they are, and then see what we can learn from them. We're not going to learn anything if we start to morph definitions and pretend we're doing something that we're not actually doing. So that's our point of view. And that's the kind of that critical aspect that we're going to look at all of these cases with. There may be nothing that we can learn from a case. The officer may have done everything they could have done given the circumstances and what was going on. And we have to be fair about that too. But afterwards, when we're in the safety of that room and we have all the experts together, let's not spend the time if we're just going to slap the table and say everything was awesome, if we agree it wasn't our best day. Anyway, that's what we do. So that was our couple of months, subject to your questions.
Yeah, a lot to think about. De-escalation is such an important thing to think about and talk about and show examples of. I would hate to believe that anybody believes that pointing a gun at someone is de-escalating a situation. An officer pointing a gun at the other person. So anyway, well said. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any, Mr. Jasmine, Commissioner Jasmine, anything you want to add?
Yeah, thank you for your report, and I appreciate you making that distinction. I think it's very important that we are making that distinction, and I agree. I think we're all here to improve and to better our policies, our trainings, our responses. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I have a lot to learn, so I'm going to kind of hold back on the questioning part of it. I'll probably learn a little more. I do want to say I don't understand what world pointing a gun could ever be considered a de-escalation as a community member. If someone points a gun at me, it's absolutely escalating something. I appreciate the investigations that you did into the review board, looking at the review board. I would really be interested to see what the full de-escalation policy that they have in their guidebook, so that I could go over that, so that I could ask more intelligent questions in the future. So I was under the impression that I-940 required de-escalation training, but and I don't know what that looks like. So I'd like to see what that looks like in Spokane, if that's okay. Yeah.
It totally is okay.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
it does require de-escalation training, and they do it. And they often practice it multiple times a day as they're going about their stuff. I think, just to provide some small bit of clarity, when we're talking about pointing a gun as being considered de-escalation, some people consider the fact, well, if I'm pointing a gun at them with Spokane's use of force policy, they have a use of force policy of on target, on trigger. That means I'm only pointing if I'm about to shoot somebody. So if they didn't shoot somebody, it could have had a much worse outcome. So the outcome is de-escalated, but the tactic is not de-escalation. So I think that's where we're confusing the two things. We have a better outcome because we didn't shoot the person, but it's still using force. It's not de-escalation. And that's where we're kind of splitting hairs a little bit, but we want to be using those tactics and techniques which could reduce the necessity for force altogether. And that's where we're going to focus on our recommendations there.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to segue into commission business. Number one is introductions. We're running kind of late, but I'd still like to do introductions, perhaps briefly. This is really in honor of our new commissioner. And but maybe we'll start, Mr. Jasmine, and just briefly describe who we are and why we're here, and then we'll let you at the end. How's that sound? Okay, okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so welcome on board. I'm so excited to have you take part in the commission with us. I've been fortunate enough to know you prior to you starting here, and one thing, well, several things that I know about you is you do your homework. You've already displayed that during this meeting so far in regards to asking for some more information and being ready and reticent to dig into information. You come in with a lot of experience, so I'm excited for you to be part of the Ombudsman Commission. And what do we do? You know, I think we listen to community, we listen to the concerns of community when it comes to our local police department, whatever practices there may be. And we also listen to strengths, what we're hearing going well. And I believe we are ambassadors for the community, being able to bring those to these meetings, getting different folks like we had today come in and speak and share and clarify, and all to just ensure that our community stays safe, and it's safe for everyone. I think another part of what we do too is spreading that awareness, allowing folks to know who we are and how to reach us, and engaging in community activities. That is the Luke Jasmine version of why we're here. And again, I appreciate that you're with us, and I know you're going to be a great addition to the work that we do. So thank you, Commissioner Smith, for giving me the floor for that.
Yeah, and I can't add much more than what you just said. I agree with you 100%. I've been on the commission for about 9 years. I think my time is limited, and I've seen a lot of different ways to approach police oversight. I think we are currently really on the right path, and change is extremely slow. You probably know that, and it's painfully slow. But we have made progress, and I think we've got a lot to be proud of, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And I sense from you that you are interested in what we're doing, and that you have a lot of background that will be valuable to us. And so we'd love to hear about who you are and your background, please.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy McCollum, and I'm super happy to be here. I am just a community, just a community member, but I work in community mental health, and I have spent a lot of my life traveling, honestly. So I've seen policing in other countries, and it's quite different than Spokane or America in general. But when I came back, I had lived abroad for quite a while, and I came back to the States in 2016. And, you know, I saw what everybody else saw, I think. I was one of the organizers of the George Floyd protests, proud to be one. That was a reckoning that our country came to. I also collected signatures for 940. I think oversight is essential. I think there are some unfortunate consequences from it, but I think lawmaking is imperfect. And so I'm hoping that as some of our action on this commission, that maybe we can talk to some of our legislators and have some of those unintended consequences, we can come about with ways to fix those problems that have arisen. Because I do feel that the community wants civilian oversight, and I think the police department would benefit from it, honestly. I think transparent, that, you know, letting in the light of sunshine tends to be more healthy, and keeping things behind closed doors breeds suspicion. And so I'm just kind of here, honestly, I know there's going to be a large learning curve, but I'm very excited to learn these things and be part of the process, and hopefully just strengthen the ability of this commission to make those positive changes and make recommendations that are solid and are taken. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to working with you, and onward we go. Okay, we have already talked about number 2, vehicle pursuit, a legislative update. Number 3, OPOC attorney. I think what's going on here is historically we have had our own attorney to advise the OPOC, and was an outside person. And sometimes it went well, sometimes it didn't. We don't always get a lot of applicants for the position because it is so part-time. But we need to have that presence for obvious reasons. Mr. Zamblin, I think you are. I'll let you speak for a moment here.
Yes, I technically represent the Ombudsman's office, Barton Luby May. And as you know, the commission has power over who the Ombudsman is. So the commission needs to have their own independent attorney, because my legal and professional responsibility interests are to the Ombudsman. Mm-hmm. And while everything is going great here as we sit today, as any relationship, it could turn. So it's important for the commission to have your own independent legal advisor that is representing you, and I representing the Ombudsman's office. I think I've been here for helping the commission for 3 years.
Ooh, 3 years already?
And
Feels like a long time.
yeah. COVID, you know, everyone forgets about it, but we did have meetings, and I think it's important for the commission to have that independent legal person to give you advice. And also, you have been dealing with budget issues, and there's a concern that if you don't ever use your budgeted legal line item, it could disappear. You never know through the budget process, as you did last year.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jasmine has his hand raised.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Zamlin, and I know you've brought this up to us before. I wanted to, if it's okay, Commissioner Smith, pivot to Mr. Logue, because I believe there were some complications to switching over. Is that correct, or am I remembering incorrectly?
Well, I think we're in a budget free fall. I mean, we don't really have a firm budget as we speak tonight. Is that true, Mr. Logue, that it is upside down and sideways?
It's problematic, but potentially not problematic. You know, we met with the council president last week. I'm meeting with her again, I believe, next week. I've had multiple conversations in regard to budget. The mayor included our office in the levy proposal, which was announced this last week. And to me, funding-wise, because of the shape of what they did to us at the end of last year, and with the 2 brand-new commissioners coming on, there is a potential to do some shuffling if there's any savings in any place. The attorney, my question would be, we had it under, we advertised it with, was it the Bar Association? Where did we advertise it with?
Yes, it was posted in the Gazette. It was posted on the Bar Association. There was, I think, little to no response.
But
That
we didn't
was-
get applications.
That was Spokane County Bar Association.
Yeah, yes.
It's some of this comes to finding someone that number one, that will apply. And I think the last one we had was somebody that somebody knew that encouraged them to apply, that doesn't have a conflict of interest with suits against the city or some other stuff. There are some limitations there. I'm interested in getting the OPOC an attorney, but I need someone to apply. And is there places that you recommend that we look?
Yes. Number one, I don't think an advertisement has gone out in probably a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I would put an advertisement in the Spokane County Bar Association calendar call. I would probably put an ad in the Spokesman Review, the Gazette. I would also reach out to the Washington State Bar Association. They have a monthly magazine that comes out that has legal positions in it. So I think that would be a good start.
We'll have to do an RFI?
Well,
RFP?
we have that, but we have examples of that. I think it's key, though, that we have a good understanding with what the attorney will be used for. Because it's been all over the map between different attorneys, and attorneys are expensive. And I mean, I've been billed for them reading the paper. We need to be clear about what their duties and responsibilities are to the OPOC. And with that being said, I cannot tell you how thankful I've been to have you here for this last bit. And we know it's outside of your normal responsibilities, and you've been consistent and faithful. So thank you. It's a good reminder. Admittedly, it's not my highest priority at the moment, but if it's the OPOCs, it becomes my highest priority.
It's the OPOC's decision to do this, and it does make sense that we do a search and we put strict limits on what that person can do and not do, or just be careful to how we use that person's time. I think we're better able to do that than we were in the past. I feel like we're better equipped to know how to use that person. So does that mean then you will do the, yes.
Oh, yeah, just Commissioner Smith, does that mean that we need to do a motion? Is that?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Okay.
So,
Well, I can make a motion that we, well, before I make a motion, do we have, I mean, I heard, I guess, two different things, and maybe it's just my audio, but do we have something written that has a scope that we can put out? Or do we need to do that first, refine exactly what we need
job
the attorney to
description.
do?
yeah.
Yeah.
We have essentially a scope that we've created in the past, so we can look at that, review it, refine it, and work to get it posted. Bart?
But city legal actually does that refinement to make sure that it's put out in accordance with what the city wants.
Would
So they help
contact
us there a lot.
Sheila Hansen,
Yep.
the city attorney's office. She can get that going for you.
Is the lawyer already funded in the budget?
Partially.
Okay.
And it's in the budget
Well,
as we speak.
Partially. But, there is a line item that's not zero in there. But there are other line items that are zero. So that becomes a budgetary decision for the OPOC. So I would consider talking with you all about just showing you black and white what's there and make the call.
Now, do we want to do that before we put a feeler out or an ad out?
I think we can put it, advertisements are pretty inexpensive. And we definitely have administrative money for that. And we can't hire anybody if we don't have an applicant. So I would say we could put it out, and then you can make a decision for what you want to do with the results that we get.
Yeah, so that's my motion then. My motion is that we get the required job description and put it out for applicants, and I'll stop there. We can go from there, but that's my main motion.
Okay. A motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of moving forward with an application or a call for legal counsel, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Zamblin, do we still have you for the next month or two as we transition or as we look for help?
Yeah, I will be here until you have someone on board.
Okay, thank you.
So I will continue on.
All right, we appreciate that.
Might be another 3 years.
I might be retired.
Okay, again, thank you very much. Okay, we're close to the end of our meeting. Number 4 is Commissioner Speak Out. This is an opportunity to perhaps reflect on anything that you heard tonight, or you don't have to share anything. It's just a kind of a time for you to be able to say something. And I'm going to bow out of Speak Out this evening. I've got a lot of things I'm processing. So I'll pass it on to someone else.
Yeah, just really quick, Commissioner McCollum, again, it's great to have you, and it was an action-packed first meeting for you to be at, and everyone who came today, thank you so much for taking time out of your to be with us, to speak up. We really appreciate you all coming, and kind of like the faith-based organizations, please bring somebody else with you for next month at our meeting. We would enjoy it. So, yeah, thank you all.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah, okay. Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Okay. And our next meeting, May 21st, 2024. Okay.